as of last night, Disney has officially pulled the plug on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And I was devastated as a fan of Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if I'll ever recover from this. I love watching Jimmy Kimmel Live. It's my favorite late night show. Said no one ever. But this has obviously kicked off a huge discussion and debate over freedom of speech and cancel culture. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's just show the moment of his latest episode that got him in trouble.
Okay, here we go.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not
Okay. So the part of that clip that people are taking issue with is the first statement. He's saying that Trump supporters are working overtime to convince us that Tyler Robinson wasn't MAGA as well. And there's you can probably argue that in the fine print he's not saying that Tyler Robinson is a Trump supporter, which is demonstrably false. But that is obviously what he was saying. He's saying to his left-wing audience, like, we all know that Tyler Robinson is MAGA, the guy who shot Charlie Kirk. And this is technically a violation of FCC guidelines. However, according to the chairman of the FCC, they are not the ones who called for the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel's show. It was rather the affiliate stations of ABC that made the decision, which then prompted Disney to just kill the show entirely.
Correct.
But the FCC guideline in question is from section 73.1217. It says, the rule prohibits broadcast licensees or permittees from broadcasting false information concerning a crime or catastrophe if the licensee knows this information is false, or if it is foreseeable that broadcast of the information will cause substantial public harm, and if the broadcast of the information does in fact directly cause substantial public harm. So the argument being Jimmy Kimmel knew that he was spreading a false narrative about this public tragedy and therefore was in violation of FCC guidelines. However, the chairman of the FCC has spoken out both last night and today to explain that this was the decision of the affiliate networks, Sinclair and Nexstar. This was not at the prompting of the FCC directly, even though they would have been within their rights to
at least launch an investigation.
To investigate it, yes. So he said that the FCC has a strong case to hold Kimmel, ABC, and Disney accountable for spreading dangerous, politically motivated misinformation. This is a very serious issue right now for Disney. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to take action on Kimmel, or there is going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. They have a license granted by us at the FCC that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. There are calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. The FCC could make a strong argument that this is an intentional effort to mislead the American people about a fundamental fact, a very important matter. Disney needs to see some change, but the individual licensed stations that are taking their content It's time for them to step up and say this garbage, to the extent that that's what comes down the pipe in the future, isn't something that we think serves the needs of our local communities.
So this is something that's been going on for a very long time from what I've looked into it, which is that companies like Nexstar and Sinclair, which are these affiliate broadcast stations, are in this kind of eternal struggle with the national broadcasters like NBC, ABC, Fox, Disney. And one of the issues is the ability to preempt broadcasts, right? So what I was originally aware of when they were talking about this was that for a long time, they were supposed to be able to preempt broadcasts, not just for the public good, but perhaps for syndicated programming that might get them better ratings. But it said affiliates traditionally had the right to preempt network broadcasting for local needs like breaking news, weather, or even to air a more profitable syndicated show. National networks have increasingly tried to limit those preemptions to keep ratings consistent across the country. Affiliates have argued that this undermines localism and hurts their ability to serve their communities. Now, what we have seen since all of this came out was that we have got releases from both Nexstar Media and also from Sinclair Broadcasting, which gave their own statements about their thoughts on the Jimmy Kimmel situation and their decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel Live from their affiliated local ABC stations.
Yeah, and we're only getting into the weeds about the FCC issue because that's primarily the reason why people on the left are panicking over a violation of the First Amendment.
Yes.
Even though, honestly, if they found out that Disney is the one that made the initial decision to pull the show, they would still be making the same complaints.
And I don't believe for a second that if they had found out that the FCC during a different administration was responsible for the cancellation of someone on the right, that they would suddenly become free speech advocates. I don't believe that they would have done. Look, there's people. Roseanne literally said that she believes that Barack Obama called up to have her canceled because of her criticism of a member of his cabinet, right? So they don't hold their beliefs across the board. They never have.
Well, the fact is, if a Biden appointed FCC chair made the move to take Greg Gutfeld off the air, they would not be complaining about a brazen violation of free speech, and they're being disingenuous.
They can't do that because Greg Gutfeld is on cable, so there is no FCC license for cable broadcasts. It would only be for the network stations. Yes, it's not. It's not on network. It's on cable TV. So there is no. That's what people are saying.
Well, my point ultimately is that when they are wielding power, they're perfectly comfortable with using it. So Sinclair Broadcast Group's statement says that they are going to replace Jimmy Kimmel Live's time slot with a special Charlie Kirk tribute. I don't know what the content of that is going to be yet, but they have made their statement. Nexstar has made their statement.
Yeah.
And now Jimmy Kimmel has also responded to the situation via Deadline. He has made it clear that he will not apologize for his remarks on the shooter. He was planning to clarify and focus on Trump's most loyal supporters, point out how the one of them quote is being taken out of context, and that Bob Iger and ABC Dana Walden made the decision to suspend the show. Discussion was reportedly businesslike and polite on both sides, and the company hopes the show will be back on the air soon. So he has not been fired.
No, he's suspended. And the thing is, so he was pulled from the local affiliates from both Nexstar and Sinclair. Both of them own dozens of stations. And then Disney, at the higher level of the national level, decided to just pull it whole hog. If they wanted to just play him as a Hulu original, they could do that. But they're not doing that.
They might do that.
But the thing is Jimmy Kimmel has lower ratings than Stephen Colbert, who has already been canceled and is just like riding out his contract, right? If Disney was looking for a reason to just get rid of Kimmel, this gave them the cover to do that without the blowback that they were thinking of. And what I've noticed is that what I've seen is that basically it's everyone shifting the blame around. And I was trying to explain this to Phil last night and I did a horrible job, which is basically that the affiliates affiliates are blaming the national broadcasters. The national broadcasters are trying to hold the talent accountable, and the talent and now all of their fans are now trying to blame it on the government. It's just a big revolving door of pass the buck along. But the thing is, in the capitalist industry that they inhabit, if Jimmy Kimmel made them enough money, they would fight it.
Right.
If Jimmy Kimmel was profitable enough for them, which he is not, they lose money on every episode because they have 10,000 writers and it costs a fortune and they lose money on every episode. The only thing that keeps people like Jimmy Kimmel on air is they make him more attractive for carriage deals and the whole package of being a part of the brand of Disney, right? If the show itself was making money, they would fight it. But they're not doing that. And like I said, this was made on the level of Bob Iger and Dana Walden, who is just under him, as far as I believe, at Disney. And Valiant Renegade has made the great arguments that he's saying that this is actually the free market at work, which is that these local stations, which are beholden to their viewers, who then affect advertisers, have made their views heard, and then Disney had no choice but to respond because so many of their affiliate stations who operate under them spoke up.
So contrary to what the left is saying right now, this was a bottom-up effort. This is subsidiarity in action.
Yes.
It's local stations who made this decision, not the government and not Disney. But we have a 20 from Shane H. Wilder. As someone who has dealt with FCC regulations, they could have forced fines and forced Jimmy Kimmel to apologize and issue a correction publicly. Affiliates preempting National is rare, as National loves to scream breach of contract.
Yeah.
And now Trump has responded to the news in a recent clip about Jimmy Kimmel getting canceled. Here's what he said. He's actually in the UK right now. Probably something that was scheduled already.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you know, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Okay.
Yeah. And he also made a joke last night on Truth Social about, like, who's next? Like, let's get rid of Jimmy Fallon next.
Yeah.
Like, he's just flattering himself to imply that the government had anything to do with this.
Look, I wrote a whole spiel about this today, and in me working out what my thoughts on all of this are, because I don't seeing that there's what seems to be clear FCC violation, or at least what could be construed as something actionable to investigate, makes it a little bit easier to take. But I don't like the idea of government overreach. I do prefer the idea that at a local level, the station spoke up to their national affiliate, and the national affiliate took action. But what people are having a hard time with is the time frame of Brendan Carr's comments on Benny Johnson, Trump's posts, and then all of this happening. But my point was more like, what do I, as somebody, and I was discussing this with Olivia last night, is like, I can't bring myself to care because none of them will stand up for you. And you as an individual, you know, where does your responsibility to stand up for your principles end when somebody is asking you, who would never stand up for you, who would never lift a finger to help you? Where do you feel obligated to stand on principles when the people asking you to do so will never do so for you? Yes, you could make the argument that when the next administration comes along, they're going to do the same thing. They were already doing the same thing. Yeah. So I don't know where I stand on it right there. Like me and Olivia talked this through last night, and her rational take on it, you know, that you can believe that the FCC is overreaching, but also that Jimmy Kimmel is trash, makes perfect sense to me. But I don't know if I buy that it's a moral good for yourself to allow you to be taken advantage of by an enemy that will never offer you the same grace.
Well, factually, the FCC overreach is, at least according to the information we have right now, that's not what's happening.
Yes, I was merely entertaining the narrative that's going around.
Let me entertain the narrative, though. If the government were responsible for this chain of events, I would be in favor of it. Okay. I'm not all too precious about our civil liberties in general, and I think that the right is finally coming around to the realization that we need to get comfortable with not only having the power, but wielding it the same way that the left has and does. And the only way that actual change happens is if people in the halls of power, in our institutions, including academia and media and government, the only way actual change happens is if those people actually put their values into action.
So
like this, even if this were a decision made because of the FCC, I would be in favor of it. And I think that's where most people on the right are feeling. That would reflect the feeling right now. And they're right.
A lot of people were very, like, in the comments were respectful but critical of my position, which is like you're being too introspective, and they wouldn't give you the same grace. And that was the point I was making, is that I struggle with it, but I understand why those who don't do not.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact of the matter is, the people that are celebrating this on the right, they're doing it because they feel like it has been a decade of the government being used against them. We talked about, I think the policy was, or it was Arctic Frost, which was the FBI targeting conservative groups. You had Lois Lerner and the IRS targeting conservative groups. You know that
Suspect free speech during COVID.
Yeah,
everything
the Biden
going on
administration
there.
was using the federal government to influence most of the social media sites. This is the exact situation that the right was screaming was going to happen when they were saying this cancel culture stuff is bad. First of all, and second of all, the whole situation started because of a murder. Right? Like the right wasn't doing this 6 months ago. The right wasn't trying to get people fired for things they said 6 months ago. This is because there was a murder, and people on the left have been celebrating it. Before this, the left was getting people canceled because they used the wrong pronoun, said that men can't become women, said the most innocuous, mundane, basic truths. And you would lose your job. You would be considered some kind of bigot. You would be possibly assaulted for it. And so whether or not people deep down think this is a good thing, they feel like this is the left getting their comeuppance. And so I don't, overall, this is a bad thing, I think, honestly, in general. But at the same time, I can't deny that there's a part of me that's like, well, you asked for it, and I'm not going to sit there and scream and defend you when I know that you were engaging in this before. You were you were one of the people that was saying people should lose their jobs because they don't want to have trans men in women's bathrooms.
We have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. I've helped negotiate affiliation contracts, every renewal of the language to make it more difficult for local affiliates to their preempt is tougher. It's hypocritical. The network owned and operated stations do it all the time.
Yep. And the other big thing here, like Phil was saying there, is that for these... thank you!
Thank you!
Hold, please! Standing on business. Phil loves this song.
It's better than the last one.
You were saying?
I just... You look at the clips of Jimmy Kimmel celebrating Tucker getting fired. You look at Alex Jones facing a $1.5 billion lawsuit for what he said. You understand that what we're talking about is a technicality, because if he said this on cable, none of this would be happening because there is no FCC regulation to cable. So I've got about, like I said last night, I got about 10,000 other things in my life that I need to worry about. Once I take care of those, I will cry for Jimmy Kimmel. But I do think it's a fair discussion to at least, entertain with yourself a little bit of introspection about how you feel about something like this and go from there.
We have another 20 from Shane H. Wilder. The FCC would have been in their rights. Hell, one F-bomb can garner a $10,000 fine. When a local news broadcast gives bad info, they correct themselves to avoid fines. Jimmy refused to apologize and got pissy and lost his job. Well, that's another thing. As I said earlier, if Disney were responsible for all of this, they would still be crying.
Yep.
They would still be crying about the violation of our First Amendment, the technicality, and arguing over it, and actually delivering the real information is completely irrelevant to them. And it's also folded into a conversation about cancel culture, because the left is claiming like, oh, these hypocritical MAGAs who are complaining about cancel culture are the ones who are weaponizing it against us.
Yeah.
And Rolling Stone republished some comments from Jimmy Kimmel about cancel culture that he gave back in April, saying, I'm not the kind of person who will cut someone out of my life just because we don't believe the same thing. Dave Portnoy also gave his take. To me, cancel culture is when people go out of their way to dig up old tweets, videos, etc., looking for dirt on somebody they don't like in an effort to get them fired. If Kimmel got canceled for shit he did on The Man Show, that would be cancel culture. But when a person says something that a ton of people find offensive, rude, or dumb in real time, and then that person is punished for it, that's not cancel culture. That's consequences for your actions. It's also not what some people found offensive, rude, or dumb. It's what a lot of people rightly called out as actual disinformation.
Yeah, and weasel words.
It's not really just because it's offensive, rude, or dumb.
Yeah.
That would be a different discussion entirely. And again, this isn't about his freedom of speech, because he's perfectly free to go on X and broadcast Jimmy Kimmel Live 2.0.
Go on cable.
Or go on cable, or
Hulu.
go on YouTube, or go on literally any other platform. But you are not entitled by the First Amendment to be platformed by the biggest media conglomerate in the history of the planet and be paid a $16 million salary for it, to pal around with celebrity guests, to have a live band playing you in and out of your show. None of that is covered under the First Amendment. He was getting paid, if you do the math, an average of $88,000 per episode, over that amount. Not to mention the salaries of all the people who are writing and producing on his show, including his own wife, who is the lead writer. She's probably just as responsible for what he said in his monologue as he is. And yeah, that's not something you're entitled to. You're not actually entitled to be paid for your speech. If we went on this show and mocked Charlie's death and Tim fired us for it and canceled Pop Culture Crisis, would that be a violation of our free speech rights? No, we could just hop on our own personal social media pages and share the exact same sentiments. We just wouldn't get paid to do it. And Roseanne Barr rightly pointed out to Obama, remember when you and your wife called Bob Iger to have me fired? She, at the time, made a comment about an Obama staffer comparing her to a character in Planet of the Apes. When she was like on Ambien in the middle of the night, she like tweeted something, and Obama is the one who made the call to Disney to get her fired, and it worked. But that wasn't seen as a violation of anyone's First Amendment, was it? It's just freedom of association. It's a private company, da-da-da. You cannot compare the situations. You cannot compare massive conservative voices getting banned from Twitter in the 2010s by en masse with no explanation and no recourse with the comeback, it's a private company, to Jimmy Kimmel getting taken off the air by Disney. It's not the same situation in any fashion.
And I don't believe for a second that he'll be off the air forever anyways. I think he'll be back eventually.
I mean, look.
Yeah, I agree.
If he's talented, he can do what Tucker Carlson did.
Go out on his own.
Oh, and in reference to what happened with Tucker Carlson getting fired, I saw people reposting AOC.
I reposted that.
In her car saying, guys, deplatforming works and it's important. Deplatforming is important.
Yeah.
So where did that energy go?
That's the reason why people on the right have such hardened hearts to the argument of the free speech and this is blah blah blah. You weren't against cancel culture. It's like the left has been doing it, and they have been doing it with great effect for a decade, and usually for significantly less severe offenses.
And stopping now will not prevent them from doing it in the future when they regain power.
I'm gonna beat this like a dead horse. Like, Arctic frost was an actual FBI. I forget what I'm missing the word, but it was intended on, attacking people on the right for having the wrong ideas, and it was the federal government doing it. All these people that are talking about Jimmy Kimmel, not one of them has made one peep about Arctic frost. They have not said this was terrible, that the government was doing this, the FBI was doing this, it's so bad, blah blah blah. None of them care. And to say, oh well, the right are hypocrites. The fact that you're even mentioning this makes you the hypocrite.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.